Hey guys, so I wanted to make this video to give you a walkthrough of my custom configuration of Vim, FOSSVim, and in case you don't know, it is up here on my GitLab, and I have a instructional set of how to get it installed, and I'll show that at the end of this video, but I thought I would go through and walk you through how this actually looks and works, because I can't do that very well in a VM, which is where I'm gonna show you how to install this, because a lot of the custom key bindings I set use the control key, and sadly the control key also interacts with VirtualBox, so there's a conflict there, and so I can't show you everything the way I want to. So I'm going to show you here instead, and then later I'll show you how to install it. So let's get started by bringing up Vim, and here it is, FOSSVim. Now if you watched my previous video, you'll notice that it's a little different. It was previously using what's called Startify, which had all that text on the left hand side. I recently switched over to Dashboard. I just felt that this looked a bit cleaner and looked a bit nicer, and chances are you're not just starting up Vim and then opening up a file within there. Chances are you are in a terminal doing that anyway, so I thought this looked a bit cleaner and would be nicer to see. So what this allows you to do is quickly access things that you might have to go into the command mode for. So open bookmarks, will open marks, and by the way, this is using FOSSVim, which is a better version of Telescope in my opinion. It's faster and doesn't crash as much, so that's why I prefer it. Find file, which allows you to search for anything within the current working directory, so my home directory. So if I did kitty, it would load up or show me kitty.com. I can do bash, and it would take me to my bash RC, although I use bash, I use ZSH, but still, just to show you how this works. You can do recently open files, which shows you, I think it's maximum the most 60 most recent files I've opened, or might max out at 57, I'm not sure, but this is just a quick little history. You can just search for stuff. So I did i3, it'll show up all the things I've opened up in my i3 config. If I put up ZSH, it'll show up all the ZSH stuff, and so on and so forth. So again, a nice easy way to access some of your files. Find word, which is ripgrep, which would search for every single line of every single text in your entire working directory. So if I did set wrap, it will show up in my git directory, the set wrap settings in my init.vim, which I'll show you later. It also shows you the custom myconfig.vim thing from FOSSVim that I was using previously. Though for whatever weird reason, it's not showing up in my personal init.vim in my .config directory, and I don't know why. But regardless, that gives you an example of that. And start new file. Well, really, it's just opening up a new buffer, but you can treat it as a new file. So you can just hit insert like a smart person, put in a bunch of text, hit Shift W, and then that you can save it as you see fit. So if I did testy.txt and I save that, and then I quit, I go back here, I can do find file and do testy.txt and bring it back up again, just like that. So now let's take a look and see how this is all actually configured. And it's done a little differently than other people's configuration. So we have my normal init.vim file, but then we have these other two directories, Lua and plugin. And what I've done here is separated out every single setting for all the plugins that I have into their own files in a separate directory called plugin, because NeoVim first looks for this in init.vim in .config/nvim, and then it also looks for plugin within nvim. And then when you go in and you set like Startify, for example, or Dashboard, you go in, it will know to automatically look for for this file with this configuration. So it's just a way to keep everything more organized and more organized and better laid out. Now there's also this Lua configuration, and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's jump into the init.vim file and see what everything looks like here. So again, we'll mention the Lua later. But this is some personal settings to make Dracula look as good as it can. Markdown folding, cursor line. So as you can see, the cursor is clearly laid out and you can see where it is. That allows me to do that. I have various settings like history, wrap, line break, timeout, cursor line, so on and so forth. Term GUI color is set to true, so that everything can look as good as it possibly can. And then down here we have all my custom key bindings, and what these do is allow you to access things as quickly as humanly possible within Vim. So for example, let's say I do control, the capital C, by the way, stands for control, and the CR at the end means essentially enter. So if you do control W, it will automatically enter that command. You don't have to do, like for example up here with shift W, where you would then have to go in and hit enter to complete the command. CR allows the command to automatically be completed. So if I comment it on a line, control L, you see there it does commentary. It's going to do it again, and then it goes away. I could have added a silent bit to this, and I might do that later just to hide down there a bit, to clean it up a bit nicer, but for now, this is really great. BN and BP is essentially buffer next and buffer previous. So if I were to hit control N for a new empty buffer or new empty file like what we did before, and then a control left, it will automatically move to left, to control right, it moves back to an empty buffer, and so on and so forth. This little bit here is kind of confusing, right? It's not sure what it's doing. Essentially, what this does is if you have a group of text selected, or even just one line, or even just a part of a line, and you hit Alt up or Alt down, it will move the text as you see fit. So then let's say I just wanted to move this bit right here. So I do V and then Alt up, and it will move that anywhere that I want from here onward. So it's just a nice way to be able to easily move things around, access things as quick as humanly possible, and have that be that. Really quickly, let me do a control Q to quit out of there so I don't save anything, and let's go back in. There's one other thing I want to show you, and that's this +Y and +P. What this is doing is it allows you to copy text to the clipboard or paste something from the clipboard. So if I go into here and I do Shift V and then Control C, that just copied it to the clipboard. If we go to the end of the file and do Control P, it'll paste it from the clipboard. It's just a nice easy way to be able to access the clipboard without having to go in and put in that command every single time you want to yank or paste something. Quick and easy, done. Now earlier I said I would bring up the whole Lua bit at the beginning of the file, and I would explain what this is here for, and what the reason this is needed is essentially for 3 separate settings I have set. One of them being for my new plugin manager I'm using called Packer. That's saved in the configuration for that is saved in a file called plugins.lua in a Lua directory inside of NVim. So if we click on it here, this is using Lua code, not Vim script. So that's why it needs to be saved in a separate directory. And I was previously using Plug, but I found Packer to be much more customizable with cool settings, and it's just way easier to use. So this block of text here allows Packer to be automatically installed. So later when I show you how to install this and get it up and running, you don't have to do anything. You follow the instructions on my GitLab repository, and then it will automatically install Packer and all the plugins, and it's just easy. This makes it, plus a little bit at the end, so that whenever you save this file, it automatically runs through and checks to see if there are any updates for plugins, and installs plugins, removes directories if you remove the plugin, so on and so forth. This little bit makes it so you have a protected call for Packer. So let's say for whatever reason Packer isn't here, or it's broken, or whatever. FOSSVim will still load. It'll just bring up a little warning that's like, okay, Packer is in here. In this case, it's not bringing up a warning, but it will just ignore the fact that Packer is in there and try to load your FOSSVim configuration anyway. You still might get errors, but it will still load. That's what the protected call does. And then this allows Packer to be loaded up in a pop-up window, which I will show you here in a second. And this right here is all the plugins, and I'm going to go through and organize it a bit better so it's a bit neater and cleaner, but for right now this gets the job done. The cool thing about this is if I go in and let's say comment out dashboard, okay, I then save the file, it'll automatically pop up saying, hey, do you want us to remove that directory? I hit yes, enter, and we'll go through, check to see if there are any updates, and then remove that directory. So do quit. And then if I leave Vim and go back in, you will see that dashboard is no longer there. We go back in, and I'm going to zoom in a couple times for you. We go back to plugins.lua. Oh, and by the way, I saw a comment on one of my old videos of someone asking how I zoomed in. That's Control, Shift, and then minus, and then Control, Shift, and plus. So plus to zoom in, minus to zoom out. That's how you do it. So anyway, get it back to this. If I go in and uncomment the line again and save it, it will go through and install dashboard for you automatically. Hit quit, go back in, and there we have it. If you're wondering, let me zoom in. If you're wondering where, I keep going into plugins by mistake. If you're wondering where this came from, the dashboard, and Vim and all that. This is essentially a GitHub repository. So if we go over into here and I open up a random thing, if I'd actually let me bring up a dashboard if it's here, which it should be. No, it's not for whatever reason. But if we use tree sitter, for example, this little bit right here, the nvim tree sitter -nvim tree sitter, if we go back over here, it's that exact thing. And this little bit here at the end essentially is just an extra thing I'm telling it to do. So when it installs, it runs tree sitter updates. Over here for Dracula/Vim, if I didn't put as Dracula, it would save it as Vim and it would be weird. Here it's just saying where I'm actually getting the plugin from, so branch release, so on and so forth. But that's where that comes from. It comes from the Git repository on either GitHub or GitLab, wherever you're getting your repositories from. So that's pretty much the quick and dirty version of showing you how I have all this configured. Again, it's a bit different than other people's configuration, but what this allows for is as much automation as humanly possible. So I can just drop this config in, load up nvim, all my plugins get installed, Packer gets installed, everything is just done and set for me. And then it also helps keep things organized, so generally speaking I know where to find stuff. Yes, I kept making the mistake of going to plugin to try to find my plugins.lua file, but other than that, everything is neat and clean and organized, and it makes it really easy to go in and change the setting for something. Like if I wanted to change a dashboard setting, I know where to go for that. If I wanted to go in and change a FOSSVim setting, I know where to go for that, so on and so forth. And the other cool bit of it is that you can do the same thing. Unlike other distributions of Vim where a lot of the settings and configuration is part of the code of the actual distribution, which makes it difficult to change things, here all you have to do is go into plugin, find a plugin you want to change a theme for, like airline for example, and make some settings. If you want to get rid of a plugin, I showed you how to do that, and you can do that very easily. You'll notice that the Startify code or the Startify settings are still here, even though Startify isn't. It doesn't glitch out, it doesn't weird out like, oh, there are settings here for a plugin that doesn't exist. Vim doesn't care. If I try to go in and load Startify, then it would glitch out and say, oh, Startify isn't here, we can't add. Well, first off, I spelled it wrong, but even if I spelled it correctly, it still won't load up because it's not here. But it doesn't glitch out when you try to load it because it doesn't care the settings are here. It just cares about whether or not the plugin is there. So it's nice because you can set settings. If you don't like it, remove the plugin, try something else. If you want to go back to it, you can and not have to worry about removing or changing these settings here. You can just keep it as is and just remove the plugin and add it back later. Essentially, I wanted to make this as customizable as humanly possible for you, make it as customizable as humanly possible for anybody else. You can go in, do whatever. You don't have to worry about messing with the code of anything. You just change the settings as you see fit. If you don't like them, you can revert them back. Hello. Thank you. Essentially, this is just a much more sensible version of Vim, in my opinion, and it's one that's a lot faster too. You know what? Enough blabbing. Let's show you how to actually install this. Okay, so here we are in a VM of Manjaro, which is Arch-based Linux distribution, and I'm going to show you a quick install of how to get GitLab up and running. I tried to make the instructions as easy as humanly possible, but just to be safe, I want to run through it really quick just to, complete the video, I guess. So head over to FOSSVim at GitLab, and then scroll down over here to FOSSVim. Got a little custom FV thing going here. And then all you have to do is copy this into a terminal. In fact, let me bring this up side by side. And then that way everything is just right there. Hit paste, hit enter, put in your password. And if you need to, you may already be in the session. And then you're good to go. Once this installs, everything that we need installs, we'll move on to step 2. Okay, once it's done installing, then all you have to do is copy this little bit of text here. Go in. And then hit enter. If you're wondering why I'm using the mouse, again, Control-Shift-V won't work because Control messes with the VirtualBox instead of just the VM itself, so I have to do everything by hand. Then to install, you just cd into .config, then git clone this directory into your .config, which sounds weird, but you'll notice that in the URL it says nvim, and it says that for a reason. So all you have to do is that, cd back home, and then let me make this bigger before I load into this. Just load nvim. If it asks you this, it's basically wanting to create an alias for nvim. If you want to, go ahead. I'm just going to say no for now. Now, when you start it, you're going to get a few errors. First, it's going to complain about the color scheme. Then it's going to complain about this function, that function, some other crap. Just keep hitting enter until Packer goes through and installs everything for you. Once that's done, hit quit and leave the terminal, go back into the terminal and start nvim again. And then you're almost done. It's not actually quite done yet. Wait a few seconds and eventually you will see TreeSitter go through and start installing. And once it does that, when it finishes, yep, there we go. Once it finishes, you can quit out of nvim again, load it up, and you'll have everything set and good to go. Okay, so there we go. Once that's finished, you can go in and quit NeoVim again, and then jump right back in. And you should have everything working as expected. The only thing I noticed, at least here in the VM, is, the open bookmarks works just fine. Find file works just fine. Recently open files works, even though there's nothing to open up. The only thing that doesn't work is ripgrep for find file. It might be because I'm in VM, I'm not quite sure. If so, if you're having problems with that, let me know. Actually, bring up an issue in GitLab, and I'll see if I can try to figure out what might be going on. But let's open up ZSHRC, and then let's go back to dashboard. And we go into recently opened files, and then that shows up just fine. Again, it's just find word for, ripgrep. That doesn't load up properly, and I'm not sure why. But other than that, everything just worked. Just copy and paste a few things in your terminal, click enter a bunch of times, quit and go back into nvim a couple of times, and you're good to go. You'll have it set up just the way I intended it. So that was FOSSVim, my custom configuration of Vim. I'm really proud of it. I spent a lot of time customizing it and getting it to work just right so that it's fast, easy, and accessible. And I hope you guys truly enjoy it. Again, if you have any issues, let me know. There'll be a link in that GitLab repository where you can just click find submit an issue here, submit it, let me know, and I'll try to see if I can fix it. But really, truly, I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. See ya.